welcome back to The Forge, your place for gaming news, reviews, and other content. Today we're continuing the series of guides for the insanity difficulty of the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, and today's class is the Infiltrator. This mix of tech powers and combat prowess is a deadly flourish on the battlefield, with high damage output from sniper rifles and powers to augment their effectiveness against any enemy. You will have a great time with this class. Now before we get into the meat of this video, I want to know, what are some other games you all would like to see covered in this style? Some more difficulty-like guides, or maybe some more game reviews? I'd appreciate any feedback you have, and it helps me to make content that you all want to see. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy these types of videos, and subscribe to see the rest of the series. Now let's get into Mass Effect 1, the Infiltrator. Here in Mass Effect 1, the Infiltrator is the go-to long-range sniping class. It excels at taking out single enemies with sniper rifles while also being potent at taking down defenses with their various tech talents. The first skill up is the pistol tree, increasing the Infiltrator's damage and accuracy with these weapons. The skill you get from this tree, Marksman, completely purges the heat buildup of the weapon while increasing damage and accuracy for a brief time, up to 6 seconds. Next up, we have the sniper rifle tree, the go-to weapon for the Infiltrator. Putting points into this tree increases your damage and accuracy while also giving you access to the assassination skill, massively increasing the power from 200% per shot all the way up to 300% of a single shot from a sniper rifle. This skill also reduces any burst to a single shot, so there's no way to really stack this skill with the burst fire sniper rifles. It was one of the most used skills in my playthrough. Being able to kill pretty much any enemy just makes a battlefield a much easier place to traverse. But as you're going across that battlefield, you're going to need some protection, and that's where the tactical armor skill tree comes in. This is the first class guide where the class gets more than light armor, and the Infiltrator gets access to medium armor halfway through this tree. The main skill for this tree is Shield Boost, giving an instant recharge to your shields, a lifesaver in many situations. Fitness is our next skill tree, and it flatly increases your health as well as giving you access to the immunity skill. A much more overpowered version back in the original. Here in the Legendary Edition, it's been brought down in its duration, but increasing its damage resistance all the way up to 90% at its max rank. Electronics is our first tech talent here, and it allows you to unlock objects in the overworld, which increases your opportunities for experience gain. Overload is the main skill here, and it can be used to rapidly remove enemy shields, something a sniper rifle does rather poorly, with the secondary effect of reducing an enemy's damage resistance, softening the target's weapon damage. Damping is up next, and it disables the use of enemy tech and biotic abilities. The main reason to put points into this tree is not to increase the skill of damping, rather to increase the radius of your other tech abilities. But next up is our last tech ability, Decryption, which increases your tech proximity mine damage by every point you put into this tree. If you want to know more about the tech proximity mines, you can check this video up above about my engineer, and I go into them in more detail. Its active ability, Sabotage, is very potent at knocking enemies out of the fight for a few precious seconds, giving enough time to line up a perfect shot to take them out permanently. First Aid is our penultimate skill here on the Infiltrator, increasing the amount of health restored when you use a metagel. Honestly, I left this skill completely blank, rather increasing it on a squad member and you get the same bonuses, giving your Infiltrator more actual points to put in more damaging skills. Your class talent, also called the Infiltrator, will reduce the heat buildup on your pistol and rifle, as well as increasing the damage of your tech abilities. These bonuses, and the base class skill, will cap out at rank 6, but before too long you will be given the option of choosing a specialization, which will build onto this skill starting at rank 7. Your choice of specializations are between the Commando and the Operative. It really comes down to preference here. The Commando increases the effectiveness of marksman and assassination, and reduces the recharge time on immunity, making immunity a more attractive talent investment. This is the specialization that the Infiltrator shares with soldiers and will directly increase your combat lethality. Also, your weapons damage increases along with your Commando training, while the Operative focuses on reducing the recharge time on all your tech abilities. Very useful if tech abilities are your primary mode of attack, or if you just want to increase your use of them. It also adds a very strong buff for overload and sabotage by increasing the damage in a wider area of effect. It's the specialization shared with engineers, and the one which increases your effectiveness of tech mines. Overall, here on Insanity, I think Commando is the better option, but they are both pretty equaled out here. Now that we've had a look at all the Infiltrator skills, let's see how fights play out with the combat guide. Because the Infiltrator is dependent on tech talents and long-range weaponry, it is best to keep your enemies at a respectable distance. Don't forget to use your powers to take out enemies, lay mines, keep them at a distance, and cover your squad mates. The Infiltrator has a long range of tech powers, and using them on synthetic enemies is always a safe bet. Using overload against shields is a great way to help out your squad mates in combat, and putting down enemies quicker. And speaking of squad mates, who's the best to cover your flanks as an Infiltrator? I would recommend bringing a Biotic, Liara especially, because her talents don't overlap with yours like Caden's does. Your second squad mate is really up to you. I brought Rex for his combat prowess and additional biotics, which is always a good choice. These are the two I used for the majority of my playthrough, and they helped out very much, and I didn't do much swapping around. But with Mass Effect 1 finished up, let's see how the Infiltrator stacks up in the next game, Mass Effect 2. Here in Mass Effect 2, the Infiltrator acts as the go-to rogue class seen in most other RPGs. With the introduction of the tactical cloak, the Infiltrator can peek out, take an empowered shot, and move stealthily across the battlefield. The first skill they have here is the Disruptor ammo. By encasing every shot in an electrically charged current, it does extra damage to shields and synthetics. As the ranks increase, it also stuns unarmored synthetic enemies and can even overheat enemy weapons of all types. This was my most used ammo power here by far. It really helps the Infiltrator take down shields as they lost overload in this game. Cryo ammo is up next. By treating every shot with a supercooled stream of subatomic particles, it can freeze unarmored, unshielded enemies. By this definition, it is not useful on Insanity, where every single enemy will have one or both of those defenses. I put a single point into it, but I would recommend not putting any. The Tactical Cloak is up next, and it is the most used Infiltrator skill by far. By cloaking yourself, you are completely invisible to all enemies, but not immune to all damage, so stay out of those flamethrowers and those rockets' range. While you are cloaked, your next shot from a sniper rifle will do increased damage, and increasing this skill will increase that damage and the duration of the cloak. Incinerate is our first tech skill, and by firing a plasma blast from your Omni tool, you can incinerate the armor of any enemy. Set organics ablaze, and it completely stops health regeneration on enemies like Vorcha and Krogan. This is a very useful skill and should be upgraded as soon as possible, usually behind the class tree and the tactical cloak. A very useful application of this skill is its ability to arc around cover as long as you aim accordingly. AI hacking is our next skill, and it hacks a synthetic enemy to either not fire on you, or with higher ranks, fight on your side for a limited amount of time. I only put 1 point into this. With every enemy having higher defenses, by the time you strip those defenses and use AI hacking on them, the other enemies will overwhelm them very quickly, so I find it's not worth to put more points into this skill. Just 1 to get them off your back. Our class tree here, the operative, grants the usual bonuses to health, power cooldown, and paragon and renegade bonuses. In addition, this power provides a sniper time slowdown effect, and a bonus to its duration, which allows you to use the Infiltrator's signature sniper rifle more effectively. When you get to rank 4, choosing Agent reduces the cooldown for your powers, increases health, and increases your Paragon and Renegade points. Assassin, on the other hand, grants more weapon damage, more power damage, and more sniper slowdown effect while scoped. Assassin would be the better option for those who prefer to use Incinerate or other damage increasing ammo powers, because these are further increased by the power damage bonus. Your own bonus powers can be decided how you play. If you're always in the back taking shots at any enemies who try to get close, taking something like the flashbang grenade brings some much needed crowd control. You can also pick a defensive power if you find you're being pretty overwhelmed quite often, like Geth Shield Boost or Energy Drain. Your weapon choices are pretty varied, with pistols having great options like the Phalanx, submachine guns having the Locust that you get from Kasumi's loyalty mission, and sniper rifles being completely dependent on how you play. A good one-shot, one-kill like the early game Mantis or the mid-game Widow, to the semi-autos like the Viper, and even a 3-round burst rifle in the Incisor. I personally used the Mantis and the Widow as I felt the connection to role-playing better downing enemies in one hit, even on the Insanity difficulty. Your heavy weapon choice is up to how you play. Playing from the back, I use the Collector Particle Beam. It's an effective weapon for getting rid of biotic barriers, as well as the M920 Cane being a great all-around weapon as soon as you unlock it. A good tip for charging the cane is to stay cloaked, as you get the entire charge off without worrying about enemies trying to take potshots at you. The combat guide for Mass Effect 2 is pretty straightforward. Combat with the Infiltrator should be done at long range, keeping enemies at a distance and covering your squad mates. Using the Infiltrator's weapons to stay at a distance and drop enemies from afar. Send in your squad mates first, and then you find a spot, take out that sniper rifle and get to work. If your enemies get a little closer than you'd like, switch to your SMG or your heavy pistol to deal with that situation. Many enemies stay behind cover, so you may have to invest in some shield upgrades or points in your cloak, because if you plan to snipe them, especially if you get close, you have to keep your head out to get the target in your crosshairs. Squad mates here in 2 help augment the Infiltrator's damage with crowd control and biotics. For a biotic squad mate, Thane adds another sniper rifle, but also has warp and throw, 2 powerful biotic abilities. Another biotic choice is Samara, because she has throw and pull, can use an assault rifle, and once Reeve is unlocked, is useful against barriers. Jack's abilities are also worth considering, as she has a shotgun which is useful against close-up enemies, Shockwave, which is very good at crowd control, and gives you access to squad warp ammo, in case you're fighting enemies with barriers. For a second squad member, picking a tank-like character like Grunt can help in the various husk rushes, while picking someone like Miranda can give you the edge at stripping any defenses. But with Mass Effect 2 wrapped up, let's move on to Mass Effect 3 and its very fast-paced combat and see how the Infiltrator does. Here in Mass Effect 3, nothing has really changed for the Infiltrator, except the pace of combat has gotten a lot faster. They still have all of the same powers, with the only addition being their grenade. But we'll get started with their first skill, the Disruptor ammo. By charging each shot with an electrical current, the Infiltrator can do massive damage to shields and synthetic enemies, while also having a decent chance to stun organic enemies with your rank 5 upgrade. As an added bonus here in Mass Effect 3, the Disruptor ammo now deals bonus damage to barriers, but not to the same extent as warp ammo. Cryo ammo is up next, and it is relatively unchanged from the Mass Effect 2 version, but the same caveat applies. It's not very useful here on the Insanity difficulty. Every single enemy, short of Cerberus assault troopers and husks, have a layer of added defense. Incinerate is up next, and its very low recharge time, coupled with the fact that you can detonate a tech explosion with one of your own sticky grenades, makes this an excellent skill to deal with armored enemies or to light organics ablaze. Don't forget that the shot will curve towards the target, and it can be used to break enemies out of cover. On high level difficulties like Insanity, evolving Incinerate towards its anti-armor role makes dealing with the brutes, banshees, and harvesters much easier. The signature tactical cloak is up next, and it's gotten some upgrades. By being able to bring any weapon they want due to the weapon weight system here in Mass Effect 3, the Infiltrator can get massive damage out with any weapon. New to Mass Effect 3, however, is you're able to disable the cloak before it wears off by just pressing the button you have it bound to, and it reduces the cooldown to basically nothing, allowing the cloak to be turned on and off more frequently, allowing you to traverse the battlefield while invisible. The class's grenade is up next with the sticky grenade, a very potent way to get massive area damage off. It does well against single well-armored enemies, as they are often large targets which require much less effort to stick than the standard enemy. When the grenade is stuck, it deals massive damage, but unfortunately the damage radius is quite small, meaning a miss is unlikely to deal much, if any, to moving targets. Sabotage is our last actual skill, and by either hacking a synthetic enemy or by making an enemy's weapon backfire, it is a good way to take the pressure off you and your squad. A good tip is, while on many Cerberus missions, letting their combat engineers place their turrets, you hack them, and these turrets deal massive damage to other enemies and gives you time to clear out the rank and file. The class tree here, Operational Mastery, does its normal job of any other class, although I recommend only taking the points with more damage for yourself. This skill will increase your influence, your weight capacity, thus allowing you to carry heavier weapons or having faster recharge times on your skills, gives you access to sniper time dilation, making it much easier to line up those headshots, and more damage. Now for our combat guide here for Mass Effect 3, and with it some tips I learned. Often the biggest threat are grenades lobbed at your position, as these kill you instantly if you're anywhere near them, but the enemies who throw them at your position are mainly without shields or barriers: assault troops, centurions, cannibals, etc. Taking out these enemies before they get into position and throw them can save the hassle of repositioning when a grenade is thrown into your covered area. Taking out Centurion's shields with Overload or Disruptor ammo takes a lot of the pressure off you, while you can finish them with a well-placed headshot. You shouldn't be taking more than 2 weapons with you, to keep that recharge time as low as possible. Some weapons of note include the Mantis in the beginning, as long as you upgrade it in the Normandy's Armory on Deck 5. The Black Widow from the Spectre's Terminal, and the Tempest SMG. For your squad mates, here in Mass Effect 3, you really want some crowd control, as you do most of the heavy lifting in combat. Liara and Javik are great at trapping enemies and biotics, and Kaidan, Garrus, and Edie are great at overloading shields. In addition to removing shields, you can take out one enemy with a sniper round. Overload often stuns organic enemies for a few seconds, giving you that opening for that sniper round. Garrus's armor-piercing ammo will grant damage boost to the Infiltrator if given the squad upgrade, helping out against tougher foes like Atlas mechs and Reaper brutes, while Edie's incinerate, coupled with her power damage boost due to unshackled AI, can allow the Infiltrator to focus on other skills, such as your own tactical cloak or sabotage. Well, that concludes the Infiltrator class for the Mass Effect Legendary Edition. This is a very easy class to pick up. Doing massive damage to all enemies makes Insanity feel like a breeze at times. That's not to say you can blindly rush in, but if you take your time in the back of the battlefield, you will have a much easier time than the 2 classes I've already covered, the Adept and the Engineer. If you want to watch those videos, make sure to click on the playlist. And don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to see the rest of the class guides, with the Sentinel up next here on the Forge. I hope everyone has a great day, and until next time, see ya.